How efficient are all these pulleys? When I feel like getting up from my nap, we'll find out on this episode of How Not to Highline. Hi, I'm Ryan Jinks, and welcome to the beautiful park on a sunny Saturday. I just finished filming an episode where I play with this ratchet from Slackline, and it's called the Infinity, and it makes it so you don't need pulleys. However, pulleys do still have a place in our slackline world, and I've been curious for quite a while how efficient all of these pulley systems are that I do have. These 3-inch SMC pulleys have been the muscle of longlining for many years. And lately, Rad Slacklines came out with a very lightweight version of a pulley system. I feel like a pulley model right now. And then we realized we didn't even need pulleys, and we just use a whole bunch of line slides and do the Buckingham tensioning method with a multiplier. So we're going to find out how efficient all those are, plus the OG Slackline Brother pulleys that are pretty damn old, actually. And I loaned it out to a friend years ago. And last year he gave them back to me, and I totally forgot about them. They are designed, I think, by Scott Balcom, the first Highliner. And so we're just going to play with them all and see what happens when you put about 100 pounds of force, or half, that's the half, by the way, half a kilonewton on the tail, to find out how much you get on the actual web lock with 50 meters of webbing. So we're gonna play with two webbings today. This is a 2% stretch. It's Parsec from Rad. So at 5 kilonewtons, it stretches 2%. And this is Lift from Balance Community. They have, I think, a different nylon webbing now. This is polyester, and this is nylon. And nylon, this stuff stretches around 10 to 12% at 5 kilonewtons, which is around what your park line will be at, especially when you're on it. That is Feather Pro at 5% stretch, but I don't think we need to throw that in the mix because we have 5 pulley systems we're testing. But I do think material can change how things feel. At least this is a lot more work to rig. But for now, I've got this and I've got that. And what we're starting with here is an SMC pulley. And right now we're attached to a line grip line scale, linegrip.com, 30 kilonewton Sissel read. Right now it's set for fast, and it's going to tell us what we're getting on our system. Now on this side, I have embedded the web lock. Normally we remove the pulleys, but in this case, there's no point in soft pointing, which is what we call it when we remove these, and put it directly into here. And we use webbing clamps to grab it and all that. That's not what this experiment's about. This experiment is to know how much force we get on the slack lines we're rigging when we pull this tail. And this right now is currently a 5-to-1 because I have, well, 5 strands up here. I've got a lot of friction in that gree-gree, so the magic really starts to happen when I grab this strand and pull it that way with a multiplier. And that multiplier, we're going to experiment with different ones as well. So there's going to be a lot of numbers. So let's just jump right into it. Okay, so peak fast is on this slack line here. And this is the tail coming out of the gree-gree. And I'm going to hang on to this dynamometer. And this is on peak fast. So we'll see what the highest load I pull and the highest load this gets coming straight out of the gree-gree. So I have to pull pretty hard to get to 1 kilonewton, and that gives me 2.39. Now keep in mind, this is a 5-to-1 if I'm not mistaken, and that should be giving me 5 kilonewtons if there was 0 friction. The gree-gree is giving me the most friction because these are ball bearing larger pulleys. However, there's still friction in them as well. So let's add a little multiplier in here and see what we get when we put a tiny wheel on here versus a big wheel. So we're going to do a 1-inch SMC pulley and see what that gives us. Oh man, pulling my guts out. That was really hard. My fingers hurt to get 0.7 on the tail of my multiplier. And that's giving me 5.31 on the master point. And this is a 9-to-1 when you multiply it the way I just did. So now I'm gonna add one more multiplier and try a 27-to-1. And 27-to-1 should give me, I don't know, with 0.7, over 20 kilonewtons, which is obviously not gonna happen. Before the 27-to-1, we're gonna switch the multiplier pulley. This made a huge difference when I started long lining. This is a 3-inch ball bearing pulley. It's the same thing as this, but single plate, single pulley. I don't feel like it made that much of a difference, but 0.78 gave us 6.13. Now let's do a 27-to-1. Okay, so our parsec is double wrapped in the Seahorse web lock. We have an ascender to 3-inch pulley to ascender to, I'm just using this as a pulley. The teeth give like almost, I don't know, not that much friction, but it doesn't matter. Friction's part of the game here. And then on this side, I had to run it through this in order to get it to divert. You know, you gotta change the direction. All right, everything's looking good. We took peak off. We're gonna add peak back on there. Let's see what we get. So I gotta reset it, but 0.36 with 7.13. That's interesting. So it's a 27-to-1 I have on here right now. Interesting. It's just really hard to pull more than that. Plus, I don't really want more than 7 kilonewtons on my line. An interesting observation I'm making is I'm pulling at different rates. I think the stretch in the rope keeps me from peak loading this out higher. When I was pulling directly on the 5-to-1, I was getting 1, a little bit over 1, and now I'm getting less than half. And so the more rope in the system, the harder it is for me to get a full kilonewton out of this. Okay, we've got the same setup, except I have lift here, which is 10% stretch instead of 2% stretch on the same setup. The problem with this is it just takes so much resetting in order to get it tight. So let's start pulling. Very interesting. I did not know I could get 1 kilonewton pulling because I've only ever measured the tail, which is about a half a kilonewton. So that's about 230 pounds, 240 pounds. So with this, I can get a little bit more, saving myself a lot of pulling later. So I'm gonna reset it, but those are my numbers so far. But I'll reset it. I hate nylon. Very interesting. Very interesting. I'm not as smart as I look. Could have just used an ascender. Nice. Very interesting. There's a lot of work to pull this tight. Okay, so I cannot get this to 0.6. I'm gonna put the additional multiplier on here and see what we can get that to. Let's reset that. Man, it dropped a half a kilonewton just settling. 0.3 gives us 420. Interesting. So this is what I'm doing. I keep one hand on this side of the dyno so I don't screw it up. And I just, well, I got 0.42 in that case. I could definitely pull stronger. I'm strong enough, I like to tell myself that, but Interesting. I'm gonna keep going. It's just a lot of resetting. Nylon is a nightmare to try to tension in the park. Low stretch webbing is so much easier. And we just did a video about this. So I've been using this for like 2 hours, doing all sorts of scenarios. Man, this is nice after trying to use pulleys again. It's an infinity. The tail comes out and just spits out the tail, so you can tension an infinity amount of webbing. And then you just lock it off inside of this neat little thing here. So check out that episode. Okay, so this thing's dropping really fast. Something interesting is I've been pulling 3 more times. I keep getting the same number, and I got that to 5.6. So the fact that this is constantly moving, the fact this doesn't get a higher peak force every time I reset this, it's crazy. So I reset it again. Let's set that on peak, and this is on peak. See what we get. I couldn't put half a kilonewton on that if I wanted. It has to do with the rope and not me. That's crazy. I'm just gonna keep resetting this. This is fascinating. Again. So this is my 7th time resetting this. So I got a little bit higher on that one. It's just incrementally going up. I have to pull in, I think, 27 feet to pull in the slackline 1 foot. That's one reason this takes forever. So that was 3 more times. I got this to go up just a little bit. And now we are at 6.3 kilonewtons, or 630 kilograms of force, or 1,350 pounds of force. That one got 37 or 0.37. Okay, I'm done pulling. This sucks. Nylon is gnarly. So let's switch pulley systems. So these things, I believe, are $125 each, plus the rope, which I have probably, I think this might be 50 meters, which is a lot. That would cost you over $100. That's about $1 a foot for rope, or $3 a meter. And then the brake, the gree I have in this case, is $100-something. So this is quite the setup. $1, 2, 3, 4, $500 for this, plus all the attachments. So obviously I can get 6 kilonewtons pretty easily, especially 7 if I was using low stretch webbing. But it's just kind of a big, heavy, and it is about 13 pounds. Let's find out. Okay, so using my luggage scale, this thing is the rope and just the pulleys. It doesn't include a web lock or a line grip or anything. It's 9 pounds for the bare bones. This is a 9mm rope and probably is half of the weight of the system. So this is the Slackline Brothers pulley system. Slackline BC sells them now. And let's see how much these weigh. This rope, I believe, is a 10mm rope, so it's going to weigh a little bit different, but you also have to have a rope thick enough in order to handle being inside of the teeth. So this is 8 pounds right here. That does not include any components, but the brake is built in, and that's what that is. So I don't want to actually test this with a multiplier because I've got other pulley systems I'm going to do, and the whole point of this is to have a brake built in, and with the brake built in, you can't really use a multiplier. So we're just going to use them like they're designed and see what we get. So this is installed here. This is just a plastic wheel with a pin in it. These are $169 for the pair on Balance Community. They're sold out right now, and $229 if you get it with the rope and a little tiny multiplier. It is, I guess, the cheaper option of the pulleys, but you get what you pay for. Depends what your priorities are. So it's in here. it's in the web lock, and you can see the teeth and how that engages. This thing keeps wanting to slip, and that's why I put the rope up here, because if I don't, without enough force on it, it just drops, and it's very scary. So, well, 0.72 gives us 1.68. That's not that much. For a 4-to-1, I believe is what I have, 4 or a 5-to-1, that's not very much. That's a lot of friction. Maybe let's put on a multiplier. So I can't really add a multiplier because there's nowhere to attach the brake except to here, but I don't have enough rope to make it back there without resetting everything. And I don't like these pulleys enough to spend that much time on them. So I reset it up with nylon. So let's see if we can get 1.7-ish kilonewtons on this. Very interesting. Very interesting. Leave in your comments below why you think this is higher and this is lower. So rads, lightweight BLNC pulleys are next. This is a 5-to-1. Built-in brake, built-in everything. It's at 1.76 pounds. We have rads BLNC lightweight pulleys with a built-in brake system and the rope included. So here is the lightweight pulley installed on a Slacktivity Kingpin. Our dynamometer is reading 0.23 is the maximum force. This is really neat how it has the teeth in there. This is the braking system. If I lift up, it would release it. Pretty cool gadget. And this is the Rad's web lock. I think they've got a new one out that has a built-in lock, so you don't have to have your tails. But yeah, this is a really sweet setup. The rope is nice and thin. It might be Technora if I'm not mistaken, but it only comes, you know, it makes it only so long. So ideally I would use a grip, put the web lock over here, and then just tension and reset. And this would be a soft release, making it easy to undo. But let's just see what kind of force I can do before this pulley touches this pulley. Wow. Well, she's efficient. Let's see here. That's a 1, 2, 3, 4. I think a 5-to-1. Let's see if I can get a multiplier on there. Okay, the multiplier has been set up. This is very small cords, so you have to be careful with teeth, making sure they're engaged. I reset this because this has settled, and we're gonna pull on the dyno. This is 199 euro, and the 9-to-1, which has another pulley system down here, is 279 euro. And that probably could be worth it. For 80 extra euro, you get definitely all the strength you would need. So, but I'm more than happy having the smallest, the lighter version, because I use this on my Highline rigs. When I do big projects, this is what I use. I'm running out of room, but this is also a 50-meter piece. And I should be using a line grip or something. But that's pretty good. I'm getting almost 8 times. Oh, it's moving. I get about 8 times the strength out of a 9-to-1. I mean, that's really efficient. Okay, I just pulled a little bit more. It's interesting to me that even with this low stretch rope, when I pull it, I'm still only able to get 0.6. So like pulling direct, I can get 1. With this multiplying system, I only get 0.6. And if I added another multiplier, I would only get 0.3. Very interesting. So let's try this on nylon. Okay, we've pre-tensioned the pulley system to 0.32 onto our nylon. But this time we are going to use a grip. In this case, it's the T-grip from Slacktivity. And it has a working load limit of 7, so it's actually a little bit stronger than some of the other small ones. And that is not on correctly, so that's great. I'll fix that in a minute, because that goes over to a soft release, which I will need in order to undo this without having to just reinstall this a bunch of times. And then this is still inside of the rad web lock. So what I do is I just pull that a little, lock it off, and then I would just reset this until we can get this to a pretty high number and really test the capacity of this thing without just running out of throw. Well, I'm definitely touching, and 0.65 is giving me a whole kilonewton less with nylon. That's what we have in there right now, is lift, and very, very, very interesting numbers. I might chart this, I might not. Charting's a lot of work. Okay, now we're gonna use a multiplier. And peak is on, and this is settled back down to 1.3. It's almost time to reset it. We got 0.42 and 3.75. Very interesting how nylon changes things. Also interesting how that number keeps going up, but this hardly goes up at all. Let's reset. Okay, this is settled, and this is at 0. Okay, that legit hurts. So 0.6 to 5.2. So I have a 9-to-1 on here, and I'm getting, wow, I'm getting almost 9 times that amount. I think. Yeah, wow. This is really efficient. So what I don't understand is why I can't get a full kilonewton here. And if I added another multiplication system, how I could only get it to 0.3. Still pulling. I'm still pulling as hard as I can. So that's a mystery to me. And this is interesting. I don't need my webbing to be more than this. However, when I do put it in my web lock, it's going to lose a lot. So when I do tension this in the park, I do want to take it to 5.2, let it go in here as well. I might as well slackline if I'm here instead of just talking about it. And then I'll lose some when I let it go, and then it'll settle probably down to 3.5, and that should keep me off the ground in the middle. So a 5-to-1 is pretty nice for even stretchy 50 meters. If you're going to try to go 100 meters and stretchy, you might need the 9-to-1. So now for our last tensioning setup, we are going to use a handful of Rolexes and the snatch grip. And that is going to be strong enough for what we're doing here. If it goes a little bit over 4 kilonewtons, that's okay. We did a brake test on it, and I have re-changed the am steel on it. So this is good enough. We're going to test pre-tensioning this, and then just a 3-to-1 Buckingham tensioning system where I pull the tail through this, and then we add multipliers multiplying with these Rolexes. And then we'll just see how much we can get on polyester and nylon and call it a day. Okay, so pre-tensioning, 50 meters of super low stretch webbing. I don't know how to put a dyno in this, so I'm just gonna not. 0.3 kilonewtons. Cannot do anymore. So if I take the tail, so you can see here, I can get it to 0.5 kilonewton, and now I'll put on the other dyno. Ow. Ow. That is a 3-to-1, and I am barely getting a 1-to-1 value here. There's so much friction going on. So let's add some multipliers. Okay, to multiply it, I added some soft shackles here to extend my contact point to add a redirect that does nothing, but gives me the opportunity to use this chain link, which I slipped up that thing and then clip the carabiner to the loop. Slackline has a really great video on this. Spider Slacklines does. And so that gives me a something to 1. I don't know. But let's find out how much force it gives me. I need to put the dyno on here. Well, this is interesting. 0.99 after adding a multiplier on it. It hurt my hand like hell, but I did it. That is amazing. Let's add one more multiplier. So with the last effort, we got 3.75. I put the chain on this side with a fixed side. This is the end of the piece of webbing I'm slacklining because I have a sew and loop on this end. And it goes to here and it's a fixed length. So then I only have one on the grip and one here, and I pull the tail of this and it gives me a something to one. Spider has a really good video on how to do that. Right now I'm just worried about the forces. So my hand is killing me and I can't get more than I had when I did it with the, I guess, the 5-to-1. This is supposed to be a 7-to-1. So maybe I can add a multiplication system to this. Of course it has to be windy, but here we go. This is the 7-to-1 system. And then I added something. So that's a 3-to-1 on 7. So this is a 21-to-1. And it's just a lot going on here. So let's see what I get. All right. Very interesting. 8.85. I could probably get to 1, but I just like, there's a lot of zigzagging going on here and it's kind of turning into a cluster. It would help if the sew and loop was independent from what I have, but 4.7 is more than I need in order to slackline this webbing in this park. Okay, we're all reset here. We got 0.4 kilonewtons. I actually can get almost a 0.5. And then here, when I pull with a 3-to-1, that's not that efficient. So let's add some efficiency. It's a lot more pulling, but that's what I'm getting right now with 3 Rolexes. I'm pulling really, really hard. Cool. Let's add some more multiplication. Okay, so now we have our 7-to-1. Doesn't give me a lot more. Yeah, that's just no difference. That's so interesting. Here is our 20-to-1. We're almost at the tension we need in order to slackline this 50 meter, but I can keep resetting. Okay, that's getting pretty tough. It's crazy this thing isn't moving much, but obviously I'm pulling in the webbing. So super good enough for this line. There's some numbers for you. Let's get out of the wind. 4 pulley systems times 2 webbings was I rigged 8 slack lines in the park after playing with the tensioner. So I'm tired. This was very impressive in my book, and so was the rad pulleys. These are only 50 euro each. I definitely do not recommend the locking one. That's obnoxious when that thing spins on you and you're hanging upside down on a high line. But the non-locking ones are fantastic. If you bought 3 of them, you would be able to do quite a bit and get your lines tensioned in the park at least to 4 kilonewtons. Do you really need more than that? This is how we tension high lines. This is how we slide across high lines. Everyone should own one of these if you're going to go high lining, even if you have a dedicated pulley system. So tell me what you think about why I would get the same number in my hand and different results here. Efficiency losses, if I said a something to 1 ratio wrong, which I probably did. And before my phone dies, one more bump for the ratchet system I wish I was using in this episode, because man, this thing's a lot easier. This thing's 350 euro right now. It's normally 500 euro, but holy moly, makes the process easier. So go grab yourself some pulleys or ratchets and smash that like button so it gives me a reason to spend my whole Saturday out here not walking slack lines. Cheers!